John Henry Weston reported today on the news that was doing the rounds in the Spanish media early March about this new Mayan rite that is being encouraged in Chiapas, in San Cristobal. There was a meeting in San Cristobal de las Casas, and people might not understand what is going on here, but Chiapas is the state in Mexico which is the fastest growing Protestant population in Mexico. It has the lowest Catholic population, the fastest growing Protestant population. And now they're proposing, after decades of liberation theology, a new rite of the Mass that will incorporate into it Mayan symbols, Mayan practices, and so on and so forth in this region. It's amazing how Mexican bishops will be able to go to the dicastery of divine worship and discipline of the sacraments and get a meeting in order to discuss how to change the Mass, how to make it more culturally popular for the Mayan people there. And yet, 2 years ago, we were told by Rome that we needed to all return to the unique form of the Roman Rite. It seems the unique form of the Roman Rite won't be so unique after the Mexican bishops in Chiapas, or the Mexican bishop in Chiapas, gets his way with Rome in order to have this enculturated liberation theology Mass, because that's what it is. This is what has happened. Liberation theology in Chiapas did absolutely nothing to renew the faith. It ushered in Protestantism. It created confusion. The catechists in the liberation theology catechists, a lot of them ended up in the Zapatista army. I happened to live in Mexico in the 1990s. I remember that conflict vividly. I've also been to Chiapas a few times, been to San Cristobal de las Casas. So I'm able to look and see what are you doing? What is happening in Mexico? You're going to divide Catholic practice along ethnic lines or along regional lines, and I think this is very interesting. Where will this go? Are you going to create two rites of the Mass in Mexico? One rite, indigenous Mass, and then another rite will be who knows what. I think if Rome wants to send a message, they're doing it in a very, very confusing way at this moment in time. On one side, they'll come down very rigidly with rescripts, very rigid, very rigid on making sure that we get rid of the rite of the Roman Rite that existed for hundreds of years, that goes back into antiquity long before the Council of Trent. And if Catholics want to go to it, well, why? It has pedigree in the church. And we see now that they want to incorporate into the Mass, into the Novus Ordo, elements of the Mayan Rite. Mayan culture, let's not forget it, before the Spanish arrived, was sacrificing their own children. It's there in their art. It's a historical fact. Are we going to incorporate, how much of that culture do you want to reincorporate now into the Catholic Church, into the sacrifice of the Mass? I do wonder if Mexican bishops truly want to evangelize, or they just want to pander to decades of liberation theology. It's a strange time. It's a strange time in the church. It'll be interesting to see how this plays out. As I said, I'm somebody that loves Mexico very much, has lived there, that has been to Mexico practically every year over the last 30 years. I understand the frustrations and the divides in Mexico. I really do. But I don't think you're going to resolve those problems. I don't think creating a new rite of the Mass is going to resolve your problems, or it's going to help them. You're just going to create more division. And I think people forget, when Our Lady of Guadalupe appeared, she appeared as mestiza. If people understand this word in Spanish, she didn't appear as indigenous, and she didn't appear as European. She appeared as a mestiza, as a mixed race woman. So, and people understood she unified Mexico. And under her, I mean, we had 500 years of Latin Roman Rite in Latin that evangelized Mexican, that evangelized the culture, under which schools were opened, missionaries were formed. We have, churches and monasteries all over Mexico. We had this, and it truly did change the culture there from a previous culture which did offer human sacrifice, that didn't value human life in the same way. And now after 500 years, it is 500 years since Our Lady of Guadalupe appeared, I think. We're approaching it. Now after 500 years, the Catholic Church has turned around and says, well, actually, we did it wrong for the first 500 years, how we were evangelizing it. Do you know what? We should have incorporated your previous culture into this new religion that we were offering you. And so we're just turning a little bit back, let bring in your incense and bring in your little altars and let's get round in a circle and do a little dance and incense each other, and God knows what is going to come out of this. I honestly do wonder. I think Mexican bishops, if you ask my opinion, you've lost it. But anyway, let's have your experiment. The church is in experimental mode. Let's see the new springtime of the church arrive to Mexico after you've incorporated into it the Mayan symbols and so on and so forth. Will this help? It's interesting. I mean, Chiapas, the Catholic population has been falling for decades because Protestants have come in, due to the boom in liberation theology there. That's simply what's happened. It's 60 something percent of the population is Catholic in Chiapas, and the second religion is Protestantism. And I can tell you they're not going around with the incense bowls in their evangelical churches. They're not going around with incense bowls. But we seem to be thinking, this is going to solve the solution. Let's see what happens. Pray for the church. Pray for Chiapas and the Mexican bishops. It'll be interesting to see how this experiment actually works in the church. This new rite, this new Mayan rite that they're proposing, how this will work. I do wonder. But it seems interesting how we'll indulge liberation theology. And yet, oh no, traditional Catholics can't have you in the church. Your day is gone. I don't know. Anyway, God bless you. Take care. Bye-bye.